Hi, everyone. You're listening to Behind the Blue New York, where we focus on the lighter side of law enforcement. We talk about the hilarious, the unexpected, and the downright zany moments on patrol, in the precinct, and with the public. From quirky arrests to bizarre encounters, we shine a spotlight on the lighter side of the men and women who serve and protect, and share their stories that remind us all that even on the toughest of jobs, there is always room for a good laugh. If you know, you know. So buckle up and get ready to roll from Behind the Blue with the members of law enforcement who tell a great story. Okay, thanks for joining us here. We have a very special guest, Bob Scuderi.
Hello, Bob Scuderi here.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Fine.
Thanks for joining us today. And you are our first guest, and we're so happy that you came here to join us. So let me just introduce Bob. He worked with Willie.
Yes, I did.
An old time friend of Willie's as well. And where are you from, Bob? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
like everybody else in the world.
Yeah, everybody's on Long Island.
And I moved out to Bethpage.
And then, is that where you live now?
Yes.
Oh, very nice. And did you come from a long line of law enforcement? Or were you the first?
No, just my brother was a police officer. I never knew he was a policeman. I was in Vietnam when he joined. And when I came back, I found out, he was a policeman.
Is that what made you join up? Or
Yeah, it was something to go to.
did you work together?
A little
Charlie.
bit.
Yeah,
We
Charlie.
worked together. My brother went to Highway Patrol within a couple of years, and I was in the 5th Precinct in Elmont.
Yeah, I know Charlie, long time.
Was being a police officer something that you wanted to do, or you just fell into it?
I think I just fell into it.
Oh, in your time, was taking the police test something that you just did right out of school?
I would say no. I used to unload freight trains for the Teamsters Union, and if everybody told me, after like the older guys, and I'm talking guys who were 40, and they would say, you can't do this, your back is killing you, So I was thinking I got to do something else. And since my brother was a policeman, he always said, take the test. And the first test I took, I passed.
Oh, wow.
What year did you go on?
69.
Oh, you were on a 69?
Yeah.
Oh,
There were
okay.
4 classes that year.
Yeah.
How old were you when you entered the academy?
21.
And then was that a shock to your system, being in the academy so rigid and militant?
No, well, I was in the military, and at the time, I just got out of Vietnam in August of '68.
Oh, so was the academy
it
nothing?
wasn't even a year, and I was a policeman.
So all the drilling and stuff that they did.
It wasn't a shock. It was kind of.
There's probably
Funny.
a lot of guys, right? Who all came from military?
I would say half the class was military.
What was your field training like?
Oh, the field training?
Yeah.
Well,
do you remember your FTO?
I believe there was one very heavy set. I did mine in the 3rd Precinct, which was, I believe it was on Hillside Avenue in East Williston.
So we're talking about the Nassau County Police Department.
Yes, yeah.
And
Yeah, we used to have to wear we didn't get a uniform. We were in when we did our practical patrol, they called it, we were in class about 5 days. And then on the 6th day, when we started that field training, we just had to wear a suit.
Really?
So some of the cops would, that you were with, when we went into something, they said, this is a young detective. They would make fun of you. Everybody was afraid that, wherever they ate, we would rat out all these other cops. They were worried about us.
And also, where was your first post?
Oh, my first post was in the 5th Precinct, which was Elmont, but I was in Franklin Square, and it happened to be a post on Daffodil Avenue, which was right near a bakery, and we did, we worked 5-day tours, 5 4 to 12s, and 5 midnight to 8 o'clock.
And
So the bakery was nice. Stayed warm on the midnight.
That's Sapienza Bakery?
Oh no, Sapienza. That was in Elmont
Oh,
on
right,
Meacham
right.
Avenue. But that would have been a good one. But
Yeah.
I was always afraid because your uniform is like a midnight blue, and the guy's always dusting powder. And figured if the sergeant comes to see me, I'm going to be covered in powder.
oh boy. Were you always a patrolman, or did you work in different units?
No, I was always a patrolman.
Yeah.
In fact, our shields were, it didn't say police officer, it said patrolman. And then, I don't know, maybe 10 years later, you had to be police officer, and they changed our shields.
Because the women came on board?
Well, excuse me?
Because the women came to the department?
I don't know if that was the reason,
Okay.
Did what year did you go to highway?
1980.
Oh, really?
April 1st.
Long
in fact,
time.
It was April Fool's Day.
Funny you say that.
One of the best descriptions I heard about the police department is that your badge is your front row ticket to the greatest show on earth. Do you think is that accurate?
Well, I don't know. You see the dirty side of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I always said you read the newspaper the day before it came out. 'Cause you saw the stories that were going to come out the next day.
Right. And sometimes you'd see the story and it's not what really happened.
That's true.
And what was the craziest thing that ever happened?
There were a lot of,
Or maybe your favorite? Your favorite.
yeah. There were a lot of things that happened that were kind of funny. Love working with the guys, and every character is a little different. When we started 12-hour tours, you knew exactly who the guy was who worked. It was the same car. 12 hours later, nobody else was in that car. And it was kind of unwritten rule, but when the guy, you gassed up the car before you gave it to the next guy.
Right.
So I guess mistakenly, we used to have a book in the car, and say you checked out an abandoned car in the woods off the side of the road, you would write it down. So this way they didn't do the same thing you did. Just repeat yourself what you do, during your tour. So what happened was I wrote in that book that, I said, because he didn't gas up the car, I said, I left a milk crate in the back of the car, you pygmy. And then I wrote in print, I looked it up in a dictionary, and it said, Central African short black man. So the guy went into the boss, who we used to call like the deputy inspector or the inspector, the boss. And he went in there and said, this is what he did, and he showed him. And it just so happens that there was another officer, Willie, somebody, and Willie had overheard, and he says, oh, you're talking about Bob Scuderi. He said, one time I left a bag from the deli of the food I ate, and I threw it in the back. Well, he said, Bobby ran it over constantly back and forth, made it flat, put it in a departmental envelope, put it in his folder, and said, and I don't remember exactly, but I said, you left this in the car. I know if it was important, if it wasn't important, you would have thrown it out.
Right.
So I left his garbage, and I gave it back to him.
Have a nice tour.
Yeah.
All right, Bob, what about, can I bring up the 5th precinct here?
Yes.
All right, tell me about what post you worked.
I worked the post, it was 506. It was partially Franklin Square and Elmont.
Yeah, you're right, busy cop.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so tell me about, you told me a story once about somebody passed away.
Well, there was a incident where some kids broke into a house, and they ran out screaming. There was apparently a skeleton sitting fully dressed in a chair that the skin was still on the skeleton. And apparently the body was there, with the medical examiner said the body was there for probably a year
Wow.
before anybody discovered it. But the lawn, I mean, not that there was much of a lawn on the houses. I believe it was Evans Avenue. And it was just about 4 houses down from a police call box. And the grass was high, and there were penny savers, newspapers in front of the house. And of course, we had a little meeting. They wanted everybody, because the neighborhood said they called the police all the time. So they called all the local cars. It was 503, 505, and of course, it was on my post 506.
Is all in the precinct of Elmwood.
Yeah, these were the cars that might have been called to that particular home because they were adjoining car posts.
Right.
So they had this meeting, and there was a pastor from the church, some neighbors, and they were really blaming all the police on everything. And our inspector at that time, it's like, oh, we made the mistake. Well, we were never called to the house, but they said, oh, it was right down. We should have noticed. It should have been the police. It was their problem, our problem as a police officer. Well, I was a little annoyed at how the neighbors were always blaming the police. No matter what went wrong, it was our fault. We were called all the time. I don't recall ever being there, but our inspector had said, I want to know anything, no matter how strange it seemed. And nobody said anything. And as we were dismissed, as we were walking out of the room we were in, the conference room, I just went, not that important. And the inspector says, I don't care how simple it's. You tell me what. I says, well, about 6 months ago, when I was at the call box, I noticed a whole bunch of vultures on the power lines. I think by the time I walked downstairs, I was no longer driving that car. I was the footman that day. So they didn't think it was that funny. So
You got. You want to talk about your the car stop with the dog? You remember?
yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a little list of some of the funny things that happened in my time with Highway Patrol.
Go ahead.
Well, one time there was on the Long Island Expressway, one of the guys tried to approach an abandoned car, a car that was just on the side of the road. And as he walked up to the car, there was a German Shepherd in the back, and it barking, going crazy. So he just went over the radio to advise us that there was a car on the side of the roadway that had a German Shepherd in it. And I don't know who was listening on the radio, but I said, oh, I can help. I speak a little German Shepherd.
Speak German.
And they notified me, don't say stuff like that. You don't know who's listening at any time. But another, I don't know if it's a funny
But
story.
did you really mean you could speak dog?
No. I might have been a dog in my former life. But,
Okay.
But there was one time that we had there was a DWI arrest. And at the time, there'd be like, we needed 3 cars for one, transport the prisoner with another officer in the back. So you needed 2 cars for that. But then the 3rd car coming up, you're doing an impound for the person's car. And it was a pickup truck that the guy was driving that was arrested. So I had filled out the proper forms, and in the back of this pickup truck was a dead dog. The guy was bringing it, I don't know, to the dump or whatever, but there was a dead dog in the car. And now it's summertime. So on the impound form, I wrote, dead dog. So that car was brought to an impound yard. They left it outside. It's in the hot sun. It's, 85, 90 degrees out. And in about 5 days, they discovered the guy said, it was starting to smell.
Oh, yeah.
And they said that there was a pig in the back of the car because the hair apparently came off the dog. So I said, no, I didn't. I wrote. The guy signed it who took the car. I said, dead dog. So if they saw it, I did nothing wrong. I did what I had to do. But unfortunate.
I'll say.
Yeah. And when I first got to Highway, I was in Eisenhower Park. It's kind of like a Central Park in Nassau County. It's
the
pretty
premier
close,
park.
Yeah, it's pretty close to, say, there are, I think, 4 golf courses there, and it's about 1,000 acres. It's pretty big park. Well, we had, I was assigned to that car, and they would have the mounted unit there, and in the summertime, it was always busy, so they would have a spare, another car, and the car that kind of covered the college would also be your backup, which the college was maybe half a mile away.
So your detail is to cover the park? You just
My
patrol the
detail
park?
was covering the park itself.
Okay.
So it was always busy in the summertime.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
A lot of action going on.
well, yeah, a lot of people. I never really had to worry about eating. People would always offer me food,
barbecues.
and
Officer,
so it was
it's a hot
kind of
park.
nice. Yeah, so it was a pretty good post. But one day for breakfast, the guy from the college car said, "Oh, I'll pick up breakfast." So we went to Burger King, and at that time, I got a sausage, an egg, and he got a bacon and egg. But what was funny is the same size as our name tags, there was a sticker that was on each sandwich. So I put on my, just as a joke, sausage. So my name was Sausage, and he did it to his, and he was Bacon. Well, something happened we had to go to. We just forgot about it.
Oh, you get caught up in your real job.
So, unfortunate, we were taking a report. A guy had some stuff stolen from his vehicle.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll give you my name. So he says, oh, no, you guys use it. Your sausage, your bacon. And I go, oh, boy. And we had to tell the guy, no. Yeah, this is the real name here. Yeah, just in case we'd get in a little trouble.
Oh, my God.
Another story with the park was we got a brand new car for Highway Patrol. It was a K car.
What's a K
Nobody
car?
wanted a K car. Was a front wheel drive, small little thing.
Yeah, a little one.
Highway Patrol has big cars, big engines.
Yeah.
And even in the park, we had a regular Highway Patrol car, and a big engine, and so we had this K car. And I am going around, and I see, some kid must have left a couple of baseball gloves. So I'm going to give it to Lost and Found. As I turned, there was a dugout, and I crunched the side of the car. And I'm going, oh, no. They're gonna know.
You drove into
the
the
car was brand new. I turned it, and I hit the bench that I guess the players would sit on. And I went, So I went over to the mounted unit. It was a midnight tour, and I took the door off the car, and I was pushing it out inside one of the stables because it was like sawdust, and you could, push on it and straighten it out. And the next thing I know, I got a call in the park for a bunch of kids, and it turned out that one of the sergeants came, Sergeant P. He came to see,
What,
if he could help.
to supervise the call? Or?
Yeah. I guess he was in the area, and he said, because every day a sergeant or whatever supervisor, whether it was a lieutenant, they called it a scratch. They would sign your book that, they
saw you.
supervised you.
So you're at Mounted working on this door.
Yeah,
the
and
call
I
comes
get the
in.
call. So I went to the call without the door on the car. So
On the brand new.
brand new car. And of course, he probably wants to see, the brand new car. So it turns out that when I I had my attaché case and I put it up like under my arm so it would be resting up, that maybe he wouldn't see it as we drove side to side, driver's side to driver's side. And the sergeant, I know he had to notice it.
Yeah.
But he said, you know what? I'm not going to scratch your book today. Go back to what you're doing. So I went back. I put the... And the only thing that was messed up was the logo on the side. You know, we had, I think they called it the pizza. And it was the like the patch on our arm. It was the lion with the circle around it. But some of the, it was all reflective. Mm-hmm. So I got blue paint. I bought blue paint and I filled it in. Mm. But if you ever drove to the side of that car, you would see everything. Oh. It was a mess. Anyway,
so where you painted now is void of reflection.
Yeah, it doesn't reflect. It really looked pretty bad. But thank goodness they gave the car to another detail.
Yeah.
It was out of my hands.
Thank God for that. Well, that was nice of the sergeant.
I'm sure he knew. He had to know. He didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Too much paperwork.
He was good. So that's kind of supervisor you like.
Who's a friend.
Yeah, he was good. Right.
Yeah.
He knows something was wrong and you're not in trouble for it.
Well, that's good.
But there's trying to think of.
Bob, I remember you told me a story one time. You were at the road was closed for something, an auto accident, and you saw a car parked up about half a mile up with the flashes on, and you and another cop said, "Hey, let's go give a hand over there." Do you remember this? And they had a flat tire. And you changed it. You said, "We'll help you change your tire."
I don't know if it's that particular incident. I could be, because there was one time that there was two boys. They got a flat tire, and it's like 5:30 in the morning. They didn't know how to change a tire. When I got home that day, I woke up my two boys and said, "Okay, we're going to change your tire."
Oh, this is not happening to my boys.
I just couldn't believe they couldn't.
How old were they?
My boys at the time.
The boys
they were probably in their mid-20s.
And they said, "I don't know."
They did not know how to change a tire. It was disgraceful.
I had it one time. I got a call at work. It was an emergency service for a lieutenant from Long Beach. He says, "Hey, my son is broken down at Marie Regina. He's got a flat tire. Can you help him?" So I get Artie. You remember Artie Schaff?
Yeah.
Okay, so I get Artie. I go, "Come on, we gotta go help this kid change his tire." So we get to the parking lot. It's the only car there. Kid's sitting in the car. So Artie goes, "Get out of the car. Open the trunk up. You ever see a jack before? That's a jack. Let me show you how to put it under the car. Jack it up. You got to break those lugs. Come on, kid." And he goes, "See, he didn't need help. He knew how to do it himself."
And what did your boys say? "Dad, what's going on?"
They knew. My girls, I have 4 children. Mm-hmm. The girls are the oldest, and the boys. But I taught the girls how to jump a car. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe I was
no. I'll say
not
it's
really
a good skill to
thinking.
have.
Oh, the boys should know it automatically.
Yeah,
but
right.
They don't.
Right.
They all have to be taught.
No, the call I was talking about was you and another cop go up, and it's a woman in the car, and she goes, "Oh, I got a flat tire." And you said, "Well, change it for you." Pop the trunk. And you popped the trunk, and you went over and you changed the tire. And when you were putting the bad tire back in the trunk, you said, "Wait a second, this tire has air." And then you looked, "Oh, we changed the wrong tire."
She must have been pretty.
The things that stick with you, you know?
Yeah. Well, there was even a time that I was still in the 5th precinct, and the only time I ever get on a parkway is to go home. Mm-hmm. So we had to transport a prisoner. Guy got in the back. I'm driving to headquarters, and the guy in the back, I mean, I'm almost at my house. And the guy goes, "You know a different way to go to police headquarters?" And then I finally realized, I'm in a police car. I have a prisoner in the back.
But the day got away from you, and you just said, "Let me go home."
Yeah. I don't know. I was
And
in
how'd you
Neverland.
backstep out of that?
Well, I just said, oh no, I was checking something out. But while we were policemen, a lot of times we would get details to go. We had like strike details or whatever where they needed guys, and they would take some guys off their regular post and put them on a detail. Well, there was a strike one time in Merrick. It was garbage dump. And I don't know if they were on strike, but there were problems at the dump, whether it protesters but it lasted for like 2 weeks. And I was stuck on this detail all the time. So
What do? You just make sure nothing gets out of hand?
I would say just to control the strikers, so there's no violence or they don't, a lot of times they would throw nails down to give the garbage trucks, and they have people fill in. They call them scabs, that they called in outside people to do the job. And of course, the people on strike would try and do damage to vehicles. I mean, it was probably just the real radical guys. Otherwise, everybody's pretty decent.
So 2 weeks of this.
Yeah. So what happened was they have what they call the canteen, and they would always have coffee and donuts for the cops. Now, when they get these details, they get a lot of inside guys who probably are 80 pounds overweight. So, they worked in what they call the 32 room, and it's only called a 32 room because you dial on a call box 32 when you get that room. So they would just answer the phone, take reports or whatever. So, but
The inside.
they always the inside guys, and they just would sit there. So some big boss we had, I don't know, he was a chief, and they said, "Oh, be careful with this guy. He's a tough nut." So he says, "Any questions today on our detail?" So I raised my hand. I said, "Do you think we could get, like, instead of donuts, like fruits and vegetables, maybe some cantaloupe, some watermelon, some, raspberries, blueberries?"
Cop on Elf.
So he goes, "Excuse me, what did you say?" So I said, "Do you think we?" He says, "I heard you." He said, "Okay, everybody's dismissed except for you," and he's pointing to me. Well, there was, I guess, the inspector from the 4th Precinct. He apparently was a Marine, and he noticed I don't know if I could say his name, but it started with an F. The inspector. He was a great guy.
What was his name?
Faust.
Oh, yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy.
So he saw my Marine Corps. So they called me there was like a guard shack. So this chief was saying, "What made you say stuff like that?" And the next thing you know, there's a helicopter flying over. I said, they're bringing in the fruit. So he goes, "What?" I said, "Did you see some of the guys out there? All they eat all day long is donuts. It's terrible for you." And I've been here. I mean, I was there the whole time. We were probably there already 10 days of the 14 days of the strike. And you go, "Hey, come on."
But this really bothered you.
It was, yeah. I mean, I was trying. I mean, I'd have 5 donuts a day.
Yes.
Because you really, we had no cars. We just drove on our own, and you'd have to bring your own car out to get lunch or something, and you don't know where to go. It's a strange place. So that was one of those things.
I got a good story for you. So I worked in the 5th. I was in 2-car, which is Almont. So I go in for a midnight shift. Started at 11:30, and I got a call. It was Ada Case, guy having a heart attack, right out of the gate. I go there. Okay, now I got to go to a guy. What might have been like 6 post or 5 post. A lady was up, and somebody came in her front door. Was in her living room. She, it was like a trespass job. So finish that, and they go, "Oh, we've been holding a call for like an hour at the VFW in Franklin Square for a loud party." So I said, all right. So I go down there. And you know where it is? It's in the back streets off of Hempstead Turnpike. All right,
Yeah.
so I go down there, and there's nobody there. There's two kids standing in front waiting for a ride. The parking lot's empty. I pull in the parking lot. So I was taking a class. So I pull in the parking lot, and I open up this book. I turn on the inside light, open the book, and I look. Here comes a guy out of a house right across the street. I mean, like coming straight at me. So, you know, it's 1:30 in the morning now. So I put down the windows. Can I help you? He goes, I called you 2 hours ago, and you come down here and read a fucking book? I go, whoa, take it easy. Let me get out of the car. So I get out of the car. I go, take it easy. I go, what's going on? So he goes, they were crazy. They were out of control. I said, all right, let me go inside. I says, he goes, well, what took you so long? I said, well, the guy had a heart attack. They sent me there. I go, then somebody had a stranger walk into the house. I go, just a little bit more important than you not going to sleep tonight. So I go, let me go inside. So I go in the VFW, and place is a wreck. The guy from the VFW, there's nobody there. The partiers are all gone. The guy from the VFW goes, it was a Sweet 16. It was totally out of control. We were almost going to call you down here. It was crazy. Mm. So I go, they left it like this? Yeah. And he goes, come in the kitchen. So we go in the kitchen, and he goes, look at the food they left. Look, there's trays of food they never even touched. I said, well, what are you going to do with it? He goes, throw it in the garbage. I says, whoa, wait a second. Let me get the car. So I pull the car around the back of the VFW. I take like 15 trays of food. I put it in the back. Right? So he goes, yeah, bring it back for the guys. Let the guys have. Thank you very much. So I pull around to the front of the VFW. And that couple is standing there, you know, waiting for the ride. It's like, hey, whoa, you got to move. You can't wait here. So we're waiting for him. Wait down the block. So I look at the guy. He's looking out his front door. He gives me the thumbs up. I give him the thumbs up. I start to drive away. The front door of the VFW flies open. The guy goes, officer. I jam on the brakes. What's the matter? He goes, you forgot the rolls.
Well, talking about food and Two's post, it reminds me of I worked with, we had a 6-car and 10-car. We had, we piled around a lot, and I got Meatball Heroes. Mm-hmm. So we got salads, Meatball Heroes. He ends up with, you know, what we call the dead one. He had to go to Franklin General Hospital and sit there for the ME. Mm-hmm. So...
To do what?
He just had to wait for the medical examiner to examine the body, because no doctor apparently was going to sign death certificate.
Mm-hmm. Make sure
so
it's not suspicious.
They had to go through things. And sometimes if a person was going to go to a funeral home outside of Nassau County, they were a little more strict with they had to make sure. Because if it was in county and they were embalming the body and they saw something come out from under the person's arm or something, wait a minute, this guy has a bullet hole under his arm. So, you know, and so things should be taken care of.
So that's the detail, to sit and...
Yeah, wait. Just to make sure that everything was on the up and up and they didn't die of anything suspicious. So anyway, so I had these 2 Meatball Heroes and 2 salads. So, of course, I ate them both. And then I get a call of somebody hemorrhaging in the racetrack at Beaumont Racetrack. Yeah. So I go down there. I was bloated. When I got into the place, the guy was hemorrhaging blood out of his nose. And there was blood all over the floor. All I know is as soon as I saw it, I just threw up. And it was fine. I mean, after I threw it, I said, no, I'm okay. Let's go. You know, it was just that I was so full. And it just reminded me of all the sauce I had on this.
And that
and
triggered.
I'm out of here. But I was fine. Took care of business, but I left my mess on the floor, too.
Oh, kind of a waste of a good meatball soup.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that was a good place to work, the 5th Precinct.
Yeah, it was good.
Where did you get the subs?
Oh, gee. There were a lot of little Italian restaurants.
But you didn't have like your go-to place for your...
King Umberto's over there. And
that's a great place. They have great
There are a lot of good places. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't even know if believe Sapienza bread is still around, but they used to deliver all over.
Yeah.
And they had
Oh,
the
you
best
could-
bread. You
you could
can't buy a
smell
hard
that.
roll anymore.
Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
you start smelling it all over the place. Yeah.
The best pizza I had was when Willie took me to Umberto's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's such good pizza.
Yeah. They had a lot of good,
Good
good
everything.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was that when you were in emergency service on Newbridge Road? The Chinese food place.
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
lady?
May's Kitchen, yeah.
Yeah.
May's Chinese.
Yes.
Used to go to.
Yeah. Mrs. May, is that
No,
Mrs. Lee?
May. Oh, no. That was down in. Artie Chef took me down to. He goes, "Come on, we'll go get Chinese food down at Lakeview." So that was Artie's old post, right?
Yeah.
So, it's an entirely black area,
Yeah.
and it's a little shopping center, and. Mrs. Lee, he goes, "Come on." So we walk in, and Mrs. Lee goes, "Artie, you came back to see me, Artie." So we get our chicken and rice, and every time I would go there all the time, right? And I went back there as a sergeant, so I would stop in there, and the cops would go, "What are you doing in that shopping center?" And I was like, "No, Mrs. Lee, I know." As soon as I would go in there, "How's Artie? Tell Artie I said hello." I go, "No, Artie's retired,
Right.
Mrs. Lee."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. So you remember all the old timers from the 50th. Like you said, a bunch of characters. There was one guy on the desk who used to do a cop who used to do the used cars. Right, he always had the used car flyers laid out, and he'd be getting calls. 5th precinct. Yes, it's a '76 Camaro.
Was that a sidekick?
Yeah. And he used to be on the desk with all the cars he had for sale, and people would be calling in to do business, and he would be, he'd answer the phone, 5th precinct, and it would be for his car business, and it'd be like, "Hold on, let me get the paperwork."
Right.
Well, that reminds me of a time, with people of religion. I got a call that somebody broke into somebody's car. I was still in the 5th precinct at the time. I believe it was Valley Stream, after I lost my car seat for the Vultures.
For the Vulture.
So I was driving a vehicle or a police car in Valley Stream, and I got a call for a car that was broken in. Well, the window was definitely busted, and I told the guy, the man met me, and he's inside his house, and he's waving to me. So I said, "Is this your car?" We're talking through the door. So he says, I can't touch the doorknob.
Yeah.
It was something in there, they can't touch anything mechanical.
Right.
So
The Orthodox Jewish.
I think,
What is it? Was
yeah,
Shabbos?
I don't know what holiday it was, but the guy, I said, "So how did you call me?" I told my neighbor to call. So I said, "Well, so I go next door. I said, he's got to go in the car." He said he can't touch the car.
Yeah.
So I said, "Well, call back tomorrow." I mean, I was stunned. I mean, what,
Bobby, I do have a funny story about that. I worked, before I came to Nassau, I worked in New York City, in Forest Hills, which has a big Jewish population. All right. So I didn't know this stuff either about.
Yeah.
So
it's
I
strange.
went to an AIDA case with my partner, like 3 o'clock in the morning. Guy's having trouble breathing. So we go up to the apartment. Door's open. They don't lock the door. So the door is open. We go in. They're in bed. The wife is up. She says he's having trouble breathing. All the lights are on. So he said, "Okay, we have an ambulance coming." She goes, "Oh, okay." So we're standing there. We're waiting for this ambulance. So my partner goes on the radio, says, "Hey, what's the status of the ambulance?" They go, "They had to get diverted. We got another ambulance coming. It's going to be about 10 minutes. So my partner goes, it's like that uncomfortable thing. We're waiting, but this guy's having trouble breathing, and we're standing there. So my partner goes, "I'm going to go downstairs and wait for the ambulance." I said, "Okay." So I'm standing there for a couple of minutes, and I go, "You know what? I'm going to go get my partner, and we'll come right back up." Okay, so I go downstairs, and my partner gets on the radio. He's like, "Where's the ambulance?" They're almost there. All right, let's go back up. So me and my partner go back up. Go into the apartment, and the light is off in the bedroom now. And so we're sitting in the living room. We're waiting. Sitting on the couch, right? We're like, "Where is this ambulance?" So get on the radio. "Where's the ambulance?" So they go, "They're at scene." All right, so ready to come in. We open the door. to see the ambulance crew wheeling our aided past us. I go, oh shit, we're in the wrong apartment. We were sitting in these people's apartment at 3 o'clock in the morning while they were in bed. Can you imagine getting up and seeing New York City cops?
I know. I can't even imagine if someone was in my house. And then it's like, well, oh, excuse me, or do you try and play it off as I'm looking for the criminal here?
Well, the other thing is, because I like before I got onto, I was in Vietnam just less than a year. Well, at that time, in Vietnam, you don't salute anybody. Who knows? Sniper's going to take them out. So I guess if you didn't like the guy, you start saluting. You can salute anybody you didn't like, So, but I found it hard. In the police department, we had to salute sergeants. And I just could not do it. So I decided to salute with my left hand instead of my right hand when it was a sergeant. So it was kind of confusing. And of course, you got some other guys going, what's wrong with this guy? He's a sergeant, he's a lieutenant, so I'm like saluting with 2 hands. But I just felt it was difficult to do.
That was, if you salute with your left hand, is that a known diss or that was was your diss?
It was mine. It wasn't a real salute.
Did
I
they
really
say?
wasn't saluting a sergeant.
But would they question like, what do you?
I would hate, like normally if you're in a detail, the guy who is in charge of the detail would be the only guy have to salute, not everybody. But a lot of times, everybody be going up to the side, they're saluting with the right hand, and I go with my left.
Hey, so the Boston Highway, he's a Vietnam vet. You know what I'm talking about? Good guy, John. Yeah. Okay, so what happens is I said to him it was his birthday. I go, come on, we're going to take you out for your birthday. A couple of PBA guys. We'll go have lunch at the Irish place right next to Highway Patrol. So we go up there, and he goes, give me a beer. And I said, I'll have a Diet Coke. The guy I'm with says Diet Coke. And the other guy says, give me a Coke. So we said, no, we're working today, so we're not going to drink. So we're eating our lunch. And I said to him, so hey, I go, you're a Vietnam vet? He goes, yeah. I said, were you there for the Tet Offensive? He goes, hold it. Calls the waitress over. Can you come over? Okay, could you get 4 beers over here? So I said, no, I'm not drinking. He goes, you are now. You want to hear about the Tet Offensive? We're having a couple of beers.
So, any other fun stories?
What
else do you got?
As you talk, probably you remember things.
Yeah, right.
As of not really.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. So I thought this was great. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you came. It was what a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I hope.
I'll talk to you after. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, off air. All right. Thanks so much, Bob. Thanks
you're welcome.
for coming in
Thanks for
and
having me.
talking to us.
Thanks, Bob.
That wraps it up for this episode of Behind the Blue New York. So glad you stopped by, and if you enjoyed it, please tap that follow button. If you want to send us a shout out, you can reach us via email at behindtheblueny@gmail.com or like and follow us on our Facebook page at Behind the Blue NY and drop a comment. Behind the Blue New York is a product of Penn Street Studios, podcast music all-nighter, full mix by Brian New, licensing by Stock Music. Please be sure to come back for the next episode from the Blue. Meanwhile, stay safe, watch your 6, and until next time, fall out.